Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Talk Tuesday, where we're studying How Children Succeed by Paul Tough. We've gone through 5 of our 7 character traits so far. We're going to talk about the 6th today, which is curiosity. But before we do, I want to review what we talked about last week. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we talked about gratitude, and then we made a word wall on Padlet. I have lots and lots and lots of student and teacher responses here. I want to read a few of them that stuck out particularly to me. And if these students will find me today, I have a little something for you. First, from Alondra Rivera, she says, being nice and gratitude is being nice to one another, not being rude, helping your friends out, and many more ideas. Another one that I particularly liked was by Juan Pina. Juan said, gratitude is being kind to others and saying kind words. Alexis Rios in Mrs. Anderson's class upstairs said, I always return things to others when they let me borrow items. I mean, think about that. That's a great one. If someone has the gratitude and the nice demeanor to let you borrow a pen or a pencil, shouldn't you show gratitude by giving it back to them? Thank you for that one, Alexis. Daphne V says, you show gratitude by your body language and the way you act towards other people. And one of my favorite people on campus, Miss Roth. Miss Roth said, you can show gratitude by speaking kindly to one another. Please and thank you are a great way to start. Try it today. So if those 5 people will find me today, I've got a little something for you. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about curiosity. Now, when we go that direction, my notes page. You know, everybody thinks they know what curiosity means and how to show it and how to do it. And yet, they're very boring people. You ever know anybody like that? Well, the actual definition of curiosity is intense desire to know and understand. The key word here is intense. If you're going to show curiosity, you have to show intensity in what you're thinking. I'm going to show you a little story about myself. First, where did I become curious? I'm trying to figure that out in my own life. When did I become a curious person? How did I become a curious person? And as I sit there and think, I'm going back to when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I can't really think of anything. But then I start thinking about early memories that I have with my parents and how they helped me be curious. You see, my dad was in the Army, and every 2 or 3 years we always moved from one place to another. And usually it wasn't like moving from Farmers Branch to Arlington. That was really not a move. For us, it was moving from like Farmers Branch to New York, or moving from South Carolina to New York, or New York to another country across the ocean like Belgium or Maryland, and then moving back across the ocean again to go to Germany. Every single time that we moved, my mom would pull out all the maps of the different places. She would bring out things about the youth center and the youth sports programs. She would bring out things about our new schools that we'd be going to. And I got curious about those places. I wanted to learn everything I could about them. There was one time when I was going into 5th grade. It was the end of 4th grade, getting ready to start 5th grade, and we were supposed to be moving that summer to El Paso, Texas. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been to El Paso, but it's not the coolest place out there. Kind of boring, kind of dry, kind of hot, kind of like being in a desert. But my mom made me so curious about it, and I did so much research that I could not wait to live in El Paso, Texas. It was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And then my dad's orders changed. The United States military said, sorry, sir, you can't go to El Paso. You're going to go to Belgium. Well, my brother and I, we were crushed. We couldn't believe we couldn't move to El Paso. Instead, we had to go to some place across the ocean, another country. Belgium? What is that? And then, of course, curiosity took over. What is this place, Belgium? I didn't even know that was a country. Did you? We looked it up, found the maps, learned about this incredible country. It's very small, but they speak 3 different languages there. Anyway, the curiosity really started up then. Each time we moved somewhere new, I knew I had to find something else out about this place. And that bled over into other parts of my life. I hope that you start thinking in curiosity type fashion and try and figure out things that you wish you knew about. So many of you guys think only about Farmers Branch or somewhere in Central America that you grew up. and where your family's from, I want you to start thinking about the rest of the world. There's so much out there. A lot of it you've never even heard of. That's why you're not curious about it, because you don't know what it is. Well, I'm going to show you a quick video here on TED Talk, and then afterward, I want you to create a Wordle. Sometime in the next week or so, if you can create a Wordle that is about things that you're curious about, and print it off, show it to me, I got a little piece of candy for you. Nothing huge, but just something for you to try and figure out what curiosity means for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ramsey Musalam. He's a chemistry teacher on his TED Talk right here. Y'all have a great week. I'll talk to you next week.
I teach chemistry. All right. So more than just explosions, chemistry is everywhere. Have you ever found yourself at a restaurant spacing out, just doing this over and over? Some people nodding yes. Recently, I showed this to my students, and I just asked them to try and explain why it happened. The questions and conversations that followed were fascinating. Check out this video that Maddie from my Period 3 class sent me that evening.
Hey, ready?
Yeah. Now, obviously, as Maddie's chemistry teacher, I loved that she went home and continued to geek out about this kind of ridiculous demonstration that we did in class. But what fascinated me more is that Maddie's curiosity took her to a new level. If you look inside that beaker, you might see a candle. Maddie's using temperature to extend this phenomena to a new scenario. Questions and curiosity like Maddie's are magnets that draw us towards our teachers, and they transcend all technology or buzzwords in education. But if we place these technologies before student inquiry, we can be robbing ourselves of our greatest tool as teachers, our students' questions. For example, flipping a boring lecture from the classroom to the screen of a mobile device might save instructional time, but if it is the focus of our students' experience, it's the same dehumanizing chatter just wrapped up in fancy clothing. But if instead we have the guts to confuse our students, perplex them, and evoke real questions, through those questions, we as teachers have information that we can use to tailor robust and informed methods of blended instruction. So, 21st century lingo, jargon, mumbo-jumbo aside, the truth is, I've been teaching for 13 years now, and it took a life-threatening situation to snap me out of 10 years of pseudo-teaching and help me realize that student questions are the seeds of real learning, not some scripted curriculum that gave them tidbits of random information. In May of 2010, at 35 years old, with a 2-year-old at home and my second child on the way, I was diagnosed with a large aneurysm at the base of my thoracic aorta. This led to open heart surgery. This is the actual real email from my doctor right there. Now, when I got this, I was, press caps lock, absolutely freaked out, okay? But I found surprising moments of comfort in the confidence that my surgeon embodied. Where did this guy get this confidence, the audacity of it? Right? So when I asked him, he told me 3 things. He said, first, his curiosity drove him to ask hard questions about the procedure, about what worked and what didn't work. Second, he embraced and didn't fear the messy process of trial and error, the inevitable process of trial and error. And third, through intense reflection, he gathered the information that he needed to design and revise the procedure, and then with a steady hand, he saved my life. Now, I absorbed a lot from these words of wisdom, and before I went back into the classroom that fall, I wrote down 3 rules of my own that I bring to my lesson planning still today. Rule number 1, curiosity comes first. Questions can be windows to great instruction, but not the other way around. Rule number 2, embrace the mess. We're all teachers. We know learning is ugly. And just because the scientific method is allocated to page 5 of section 1.2 of chapter 1 of the one that we all skip, okay? Trial and error can still be an informal part of what we do every single day at Sacred Heart Cathedral in room 206. And rule number 3, practice reflection. What we do is important. It deserves our care, but it also deserves our revision. Can we be the surgeons of our classrooms? As if what we are doing one day will save lives. Our students are worth it. And each case is different. All right, sorry. Chemistry teacher and me just needed to get that out of my system before we move on. So these are my daughters. On the right, you have little Emma Lou, Southern family. And on the left, Riley. Now, Riley's going to be a big girl in a couple weeks here. She's going to be 4 years old. And anyone who knows a 4-year-old knows that they love to ask, why? Yeah, why? I could teach this kid anything because she is curious about everything. We all were at that age. But the challenge is really for Riley's future teachers, the ones she has yet to meet. How will they grow this curiosity? You see, I would argue that Riley is a metaphor for all kids. And I think dropping out of school comes in many different forms. To the senior who's checked out before the year's even begun, or that empty desk in the back of an urban middle school's classroom. But if we as educators leave behind this simple role as disseminators of content and embrace a new paradigm as cultivators of curiosity and inquiry, we just might bring a little bit more meaning to their school day and spark their imagination. Thank you very much.